almost when you try to get rid of. You have to get somebody off the show that you had on the show. That's always crazy. But like, brought up some good points. Knows BYU Cougars put a lot of people in the league this year, so we'll just see how they do. And then as far as the 49ers go, I mean, that's a move and a half right there. I mean, they gave up a lot of draft capital to get Trey Lance. I mean, an absolute ton. And let's just continue with that because now we're going to talk about the draft in the NFC West. The Niners, we talked about Sermon, and then talked about Trey Lance. Do you feel like the Trey Lance move is the good move? Do you think it's a smart move? Do you feel like, I know you and I are both fans of Justin Fields, and I guess that slow-mo picture of him walking by Justin Fields smiling was just another way of saying I wasn't taking you anyway, right?
Yeah, I've been very adamant. I would have gone Justin Fields if I give up that kind of capital, moved up to 3. This is going to be very interesting because just off of memory, I want to say that Trey Lance, first of all, has only played, I think, 9 or 10 games at the college level, and he's had 2 games where he's thrown, I believe, over 20 passes in a game. So he's not reading defenses. There's nothing on tape to suggest that he's going to be able to go through multiple reads and make the progressions. He's not facing, teams that are very strong schematically or have a ton of talent. So I think there's going to be a learning curve here, but I also think they're going to have to put him on the field sooner rather than later. Garoppolo, even if he starts, hasn't proven to stay healthy during his time with the 49ers. So it's more likely than not that he's going to be on the field in the first 5 or 6 weeks, one way or another. As far as the rest of their draft, I thought they could have added more interior depth on the defensive line. They did add Mo Hurst that should help, but they needed some offensive linemen. They went guard in the second round. I thought they could have gone wide receiver there with Aaron Banks. I would have liked to see them pick up a receiver at some point, but they didn't. R.B. Thomas, the corner out of Michigan, probably a 3rd or 4th corner as a rookie. And he's going to fight with Diomador Lenore out of Oregon, who did have some moments, I think, in the rookie minicamp they had. I saw some clips of him making some pretty nice plays. But they added 2 running backs. This is a team that has a ton of running backs. They've had depth. Now you add Trey Sermon and the speed of Elijah Mitchell. I like kind of those 2 pickups. Sermon gives them that big back that can score down in the red zone. Tuolona Hufunga out of USC. I've never really been a big fan of him. He's kind of a tweener for me. I don't think he has the speed to play safety. He doesn't have the size to play in the box. He's kind of just an instinctual guy that's going to play a lot of special teams, but I don't think he's ever going to take meaningful snaps on defense. So overall with the 49ers, they did attack the quarterback position. I just don't think they got the right one. So I'm going to have to give them like a B- overall.
Yeah, I'd probably go C+. I don't really, I think everywhere else gives them a B because they took a quarterback. So if you take a quarterback, you automatically get a B. And by everybody's grading. But I think he's a good teacher of the position. He felt like he needed Garoppolo. The word was around the league that, hey, he could have played through some of these injuries and he chose not to. So at that point, with their season, basically, kind of blown up, they just said no. They just said we're not going to sit there and he has a no trade clause, which makes it even, it makes it even more difficult to move him because you can't move him. Because if you could say, hey, we'll trade you to Houston, I don't want to go to Houston. Like, you know what I mean? So, it was a tough situation, but he's in a good spot to kind of just play this year and then give Trey Lance maybe later in the year or definitely next year, give him the whole thing, give him the whole bag at the end of the year. I do like Aaron Banks out of Notre Dame interior, but I do understand a little with the way they run the football with anybody, and his dad did the same thing. Like, why are we taking 2 running backs? That's weird to me. That's weird to me. And this whole situation is very similar to the situation in Vegas where the head coach is making every move. So we'll have to see, except for the fact that that other one in San Francisco made a Super Bowl and was one catch away from going to win the championship. A little thing out there. Seattle. You gotta love Seattle, and you gotta love the Rams because they're like, what's going on? Is it draft? There's a draft in it. There's a draft in April. What's going on? Oh yeah, the draft in April. We gotta so Dwayne Exridge and Trey Brown, Stone Forsythe get drafted by Seattle. I'm not going to pretend to know that. I know I was hard to find some of the footage on some of these guys, but Seattle is. I mean, John Schneider's their team is already formed. They're not trying to go through the draft and do this. Although I will say with the Rams, if you look at some of those picks, they do a good job as far as like getting those guys on the field. They get them on the field. They they're able to like Corey Littleton was an undrafted free agent before he was a starter for them. Like they do a really good job of like kind of mix and matching their team out there in Los Angeles.
Yeah, I'll start with the Seahawks. This is pretty easy. 3 picks. They didn't address any of their needs, but you can't when you have 3 picks. They basically went best player available. But I do like the 3 guys they picked. Dwayne Eskridge had a really good Senior Bowl as an inside slot receiver, very shifty, very quick. He's going to fit in well in that offense where you have Lockett outside with Metcalf, so he's a good scheme fit there. Trey Brown was another Senior Bowl participant, tested very well. He's got some size on the outside, which is what they look for in Seattle in that defensive scheme. So I think he's got a chance to push for playing time pretty quickly. And Stone Forsythe, big physical tackle, left tackle out of Florida. It doesn't hurt to add those kind of guys. He's got size. He can help in the run game, and his pass blocking was pretty good. I was surprised he fell that far. I thought he'd go much higher in the draft, so I'm assuming there's some sort of medical or injury that came up that pushed him down, because if he went off on the board in the 3rd or 4th round, it wouldn't surprise me. So for the 3 picks they had, I got to give them credit. So I like what they did there. You can throw Jamal Adams in there if you want to know where the draft picks went, but
that's who they drafted.
Pretty much. With the Rams, this was more about quantity than anything. They didn't have a 1st round pick. His name was Jalen Ramsey, but I like some of the picks. I question where they took some of the other guys. Right off the bat, Tutu Atwell in the 2nd round, he was 150 pounds. Like, he better be really good and really fast.
Trayvon Austin.
And Trayvon Austin turned out to be basically a gadget guy that didn't really do much in the league. So can he return kicks and punts at that size? Yeah. Is he going to beat press coverage? No. He's probably going to have to line up in the slot. The curious thing about that pick, the Rams asked their wide receivers to do a lot of inline blocking. They do a lot of crazy things in the
They block a lot.
They block.
Yes.
Tutu Atwell's not blocking anybody.
Yep.
So it'll be interesting to see if he's on the field for certain packages. Is this a role player? Are they expecting major snaps? So that draft pick, I have a lot of questions about. Ernest Jones, the linebacker at South Carolina, probably a 2-down guy in the NFL. I don't think he's going to be a 3-down linebacker, so another guy that's going to fit a role for them. But as you kind of go down the list here, the surprising thing is they took 3 receivers. They took Atwell, Harris, and then Skroenik out of Notre Dame, and I wouldn't think that wide receiver would have been high on their list unless – Robert Woods has been banged up a little bit. Cooper Kupp's missed a little bit of time.
What's the third? They have a third.
Josh Reynolds.
Josh Reynolds left, or he's still there?
He may have re-signed on a 1-year deal. I don't know.
Because I do. This is one of all the teams in the NFL, and it's kind of under the radar, but they're one of my favorite wide receiving corps in the league. They're consistent. They're tough. They block very well. Phenomenally well, and and they make all the tough catches. I love the combination of Kupp and Robert Woods fight on. He's been a really good receiver for a long time. And I love the way he plays and the development of Josh Reynolds. I gotta check if he's still on the roster, but I do like the mix they have there.
Atwell to me screams Sean McVay misses Britton Cooks and the speed on the outside to open up the defense and take deep shots that he doesn't have since they got rid of him. And then with Matt Stafford coming in the big arm, they needed a threat to work down the field.
Yeah, Reynolds is
with in theory.
Reynolds is with the Titans.
Okay, so he's gone. So yeah, he could get some snaps. I just don't know what he brings other than running go routes, and maybe some jet motion stuff, and to take him where they took him, and could they have waited and got him in the 3rd or 4th round, maybe. The rest of these guys, they kind of like Bobby Brown's a big run stuffing defensive tackle. Rochelle is a corner with some upside, but he's got a lot of work to do with technique, and he's from Central Arkansas, hasn't faced a high-level competition. So a lot of these are just developmental guys that they see some traits in that they like. But it's going to be interesting to see, obviously, with Staley leaving to take the Chargers job, what's that defense going to look like? And it's a lot easier to play defense when you have Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey as well. So these guys aren't going to be asked to do a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. So we'll see what style does he play? What style does he play of defense?
They brought in Raheem Morris. So
okay.
Probably a 4-3 base, which is what he's run. He's run a lot of cover 2 when he was with Tampa. Last year with the Falcons, he mixed it up a little bit, played a little bit more quarters, a little bit more man. It's going to be different than what they did last year with the too high safety look and a lot of just they were undermanned in the box. They had 5 or 6 guys in there. They never had 7 or 8 guys down in the box. So last year with the Rams, they were able to stop the run with just those front 4, 5, 6 guys.
Yeah,
and they were able to keep the safeties back. I don't know if they're going to be able to do that. And go to a 4-man line is going to be a little bit different with the personnel they have with Brockers and Donald. Those guys are used to playing in a 3-man line. So
we'll see what happens as far as that goes. Xavier Collins out of Tulsa. You love him. You love him as a linebacker, or you love him as a go get the quarterback, replacing Hassan Reddick.
I think to me, he was a middle linebacker when he came out in the draft, and that's exactly where they said they're going to play him. First time I threw the film on him, I was like, this guy's freaking Brian Urlacher. Like, he's flying around the field. He's 260 pounds. He's running like he's 230. Mm-hmm. He's playing in coverage. He can rush the quarterback. He can blitz. He can get off tackles. So, like, they're playing him where they should. My only concern is they took Isaiah Simmons last year, and they couldn't really figure out what to do with him. I'm glad that the early reports are Collins is playing middle linebacker, and that's where he's going to go. Shopping their present starter. So I think this guy has Pro Bowl potential.
Okay. Well, I was wondering what your thoughts were on him. Because I know some people were saying that he's going to go get the quarterback. Some people were saying, he is like physically is just. It's crazy that somebody that big can move like that. Like it's pretty impressive to see what happens there. Isaiah Simmons last year, like what would you do with this guy? Like I mean he's talented, he's gifted. Like it's not like he's like some scrub off the street who you're gonna cut tomorrow. The guy can play, but like where does he play?
It's interesting because he literally wasn't playing at all last year. He was getting very few snaps. So he's too tall to play safety. He's kind of he can run, but it's more straight line. There's not a lot of agility there, side to side. So you want him working downhill, not having to backpedal and go into coverage. So it's kind of like, is he a nickel backer? But you took the top 10, so you're going to have to find some place for him to play. I'm assuming they're just going to start him out probably Sam linebacker and see if they can work him downhill, cover some tight ends, but mainly rush the passer off the edge. Because he can do that, but schematically, it's tough for him to fit in with what the Cardinals are doing. So they're gonna have to figure something out. Clearly, they didn't think middle linebacker and obviously safety aren't aren't going to be places he's going to be playing.
Yeah, I just wouldn't know. I think about that pick and I'm like, I just don't. They seem to always take some guys like that in Arizona. With the rest of the draft. Rondale Moore, Marco Wilson, some of these guys here. What are your thoughts about those guys? And I know he took a center from Penn State later on, and James Wiggins from Cincinnati at safety in 7th round.
Yeah, Marco Wilson, the 4th round corner out of Florida. That was a pure traits pick. Height, weight, speed. He checks a lot of boxes there. Production, ball skills, not necessarily checking those. So he's going to need some technique work. Probably starts out as a special teams guy. But he has an opportunity there to get some playing time because clearly Patrick Peterson's not there anymore, and they're going to need to cover multiple wide receiver sets in that division. Rondale Moore is a shifty slot receiver out of Purdue that should get some targets. He's on a team that has DeAndre Hopkins and A.J. Green now at this point. So they clearly needed someone in the middle of the field that could work underneath and had some speed.
Isabella has disappointed.
Yeah, Andy Isabella, they took out of UMass, hasn't really done anything. So they're clearly looking for a slot receiver to come in and get some snaps. I don't know how many targets he's going to get in that offense because they're going to throw the ball to the running back. Kyler Murray's going to run a lot, and they're going to target those guys on the outside. And then if Larry Fitzgerald ends up coming back, I don't think he's officially retired yet. If he figures out, hey, I want to play one more year and tells him before training camp, then you got another wide receiver in the mix there. The rest of the guys they took, I don't know a lot about, the 6th and 7th rounders. James Wiggins, I saw play a little bit at Cincinnati. Physical guy with some speed. He's a box safety. So maybe he learns behind Budda Baker and kind of plays some special teams and is a backup there. And then obviously an edge rusher out of Duke. I don't even know how to say his name. I'm going to guess Victor Dimu KJ. I don't know. That sounds right. But don't know a lot about him. He's probably a developmental guy on the edge. Give some pass rush. But
yeah,
overall, I really would have liked to see him target a tight end. This wasn't a good draft for tight ends. I think that they really need one. Obviously, offensive line depth would have been good to keep Kyler Murray upright. Didn't take an offensive lineman. So
that is probably one of the most. I was looking at my notes. I was just going to remark about that is the fact that you have a young quarterback. It's not like you're playing behind, Jonathan Ogden out there. You have pass rushers in this division. Seattle has pass rushers. The Rams definitely have pass rushers. I mean, why would you not 49ers? Why would you not kind of sure up that part of the thing? That's why don't you feel like this is a little bit going to be like a situation where it just fails until they get a new
I feel
coach?
like we're watching the run and shoot all over again where Kingsbury thinks he's still playing in the Big 12 and they're just going to throw the ball 60 times a game. They didn't even address the running game. They lost Kenyon Drake, obviously, to the Raiders, and they brought over James Conner as a free agent. But you would think, okay, offensive line, let's invest in a tight end. Let's get a running back. Let's get some tackles. They didn't do any of that. So this was literally like, give me the slot receiver and let's invest on defense.
Do they even have a pass a pass catching
tight end?
No, not tight end, but running back who can make some plays?
Probably Chase Edmonds.
Chase Edmonds,
Chase Edmonds. I'm not even sure how much they even play a tight end, to be honest, in that scheme. It's probably 3 and 4 wideouts a majority of the time. But you'd like to have a guy that can come in there and at least be a safety valve for Murray instead of having him have to scramble so much.
Do they even have a fullback on the roster?
No, not in that scheme. They don't.
It's funny. A friend of mine who just does stuff with college football says I always worry about NFL teams who don't have fullbacks.
Well, that's probably 60% of them, if not more, at this point.
But a lot of them don't have. You can't run the football. You can't run. You can't commit to running because there's going to be times where they want to run the football, and they can't do it. They can't do it. Let's go to the AFC West real quick. I know that everybody want to put the Chargers in the Super Bowl, so let's just go with them. Slater, obviously the best left tackle in the draft, or one of them. No question about it. He's just been fantastic at Northwestern. Asante Samuel Jr., Josh Palmer, Trey McKinney, Chris Rumpf, Brandon Jameis, Nick Neiman, and Larry Roundtree the third, and then Mark Webb. Thoughts about the Chargers draft? I feel like obviously the first two are the guys who could probably come in and start. Is the depth there to kind of get some more out of this rest of these guys in this draft?
I think the first thing that stands out is they took 2 offensive tackles, so they know they need to protect Justin Herbert. Obviously, Slater, to me, second best offensive tackle in the draft behind Penei Sewell. He's going to start day 1 at left tackle, which they need. Brendan James out of Nebraska, who they took in the 5th round, gives you some nice size and developmental guys, a swing tackle. So they've added some depth there. I believe Asante Samuel is going to be a starter for him day 1. So you get a starting cornerback. This looks to me like when you start looking at some of these picks that they're switching to a 3-4, and you're going to have away from Gus Bradley's 4-3 defense that they had. And Brandon Staley was looking for guys that he can fit in those pieces. So Chris Rumpf kind of that defensive end, outside linebacker, 3-4 edge rusher out of Duke. I don't think he's ready to play right away, but he's a guy that they hope maybe in a year or two can be a starter. Nick Neiman is an inside linebacker, which they need in that 3-4 as well.
Question: so that they're going to 3-4. Does that mean Bosa is standing up on the outside, or?
I think he's probably on rundowns. He's probably playing defensive end, and then when they get into their nickel situation, then he's probably going to shift out and come from the outside. But he's probably going to be playing with his hand on the ground on first and second down, and then rush the passer on third down. But he's not going to be a full-time outside 3-4 backer. You don't want him in coverage. You don't want him working.
No, you can't do it. You can't do that
backwards. You don't want him covering tight ends. That's not going to work. I do have some questions. They took some upside guys. Josh Palmer is a guy that measured really well. The production wasn't there in college. Granted, they didn't have a quarterback at Tennessee that could throw at all. So it's a boomer bust pick. Either they're going to hit the lottery with a guy who physically has some traits and speed that should give you some production. He's just never done it. They really needed a tight end after they lost Hunter Henry in free agency to the Patriots. They're bringing Jared Cook. I've never been a fan of Trey McKitty. I know he's big and I know he runs fast, but he's never produced at Georgia. Just never showed up, never got the catches, never caught the touchdown. So I don't know what we're really getting there. Or the Chargers.
Couldn't they have just spent more? I mean, like Jared Cook is good, but like, couldn't they have spent a little bit more money and maybe got somebody a little bit better? I mean, I have to go back and look who was a free agent, but I just feel like that's just like he's such a stopgap guy, and when you really need him, he's not going to come through.
He's a nice pass catcher that's going to catch some balls from them. Is he going to help you in the run game blocking? No. He's going to get run over a lot more than he's more of like a positional blocker. He's just going to get in the way of someone, but he's not actually going to block anyone.
Yeah.
And with Herbert, they're going to need the running game, and at some point, he's still a young guy, but. I like the first two picks. I think they rolled the dice on a lot of the guys after that, and they're hoping that those guys can come in and play and add a little bit of depth to the offensive line and to the defensive side of the ball. I don't really see a lot of guys that are going to make a big difference year one. So this team's going to be all about protecting Justin Herbert. That's the only way they're going to win going forward. And their defensive players are getting a little bit older. They're getting Derwin James back, but he just can't stay healthy. So hopefully – he plays a full 17 games this year because he is a difference maker when he's on the field. I don't really love their linebacking core, so we'll see.
Are people making a mistake with them just a little bit, thinking that they're going to hit the ground running with this young coach, with this passing game and running game situation coordinator, another different offense for Herbert? I know he played in a lot of different offenses. In Oregon, but do you think people are just kind of not? I'm not gonna say overrate, because I mean he had a fantastic rookie season, but there's obviously things to work on when you really dive into the film. Do you think that people are just jumping on that train a little bit too much?
I do. I love Justin Herbert as a prospect. I think the sky's the limit with him, but I think to automatically just think that he's going to progress from where he was last year and have an even better sophomore season, I'm kind of on the other side of the fence. I want to see it. I believe they kept the same offensive coordinator, but now you have a defensive coach in charge. Is Staley going to want to run the football and not play turnover ball and try to just hold on to it and win defensively? Or is he going to want to get into shootouts with the Chiefs and the Raiders? That'll be interesting, but we'll see. He still has those weapons outside. He still has Keenan Allen. He still has Mike Williams. He still has Eckler in the backfield. But I think running back depth is going to be a problem here. I think the interior of the offensive line can be an issue. They did sign Corey Linsley at the center position, but those guys are going to have to stay healthy, and they're going to have to be able to run the ball, I think, at times to keep the pressure off of Herbert. But
I think so I'm looking at their coaching staff. I thought they went to Pat. So Shane Day, who there was from Kansas State, is the passing game coordinator and slash quarterbacks, and I believe they have a running game coordinator. Yeah, running game. Jay Rogers is the running game coordinator slash outside linebackers. Busy guy.
So Shane, I think his name was Stickum or Shickum, isn't there anymore?
No, he's not. He's not. He's not. He's
Okay.
not.
So yeah, now you're learning a new system, so we don't know
Yeah.
what really to expect there.
Yeah. So that's gonna be interesting to see what happens. And I just think that's an interesting combination of
linebacker coach
and run game coordinator. I thought that was. I just remember that from them. I was like, that's interesting. That is the purse string is a little tight over there in Canton.
Sounds like it.
I mean, my goodness, that's kind of crazy. Running out of time, so we might have to go to. We'll probably finish with the Broncos, and then we'll come back next week and do the rest.
Okay.
The Broncos, Surtain. If they use this run, this is the one running back that I just feel like could be a pain in the neck to deal with. Javonte Williams out of North Carolina, Brandon Browner from Ohio State, Jamar Johnson, to name a few. What are your overall thoughts about that? I think Surtain is going to be a really good player. I don't know. I like, how do you not, if Fields is there, and I know you're trying to maybe pursue Aaron Rodgers, which is probably an unlikely pursuit of him. Maybe you're waiting for this whole legal thing with Watson to go away. I don't know, but he's sitting right there, right at 9. Why? How do you not take a flyer on that kid? I don't get it.
This is interesting. So I like the players they took. They're good players, but if Justin Fields turns out to be a Pro Bowl quarterback, they missed. But they did. So quarterback to me was their number one goal they needed, number one target they should have got. What they needed was, obviously they needed help at center. I believe that they've done that with Quinn Miners. They needed help on the back end. It was surprising they did 2 safeties where they took them. I like Stearns and Johnson, but I think they're both more free safeties, and they have Justin Simmons. So I don't know. They're going to play a lot of 3 safety coverages. I don't know how they're going to get all those guys on the field. Javonte Williams is going to be a nightmare for AFC West defenses for a long time. And as long as they have a quarterback who can keep them out of 8-man boxes, if he's going to be able to run against 6 and 7-man boxes, he's going to be a productive player. Patrick Surtain was an interesting pick because I think they have depth. They went outside Kyle Fuller. They went outside Ronald Darby. They still had Bryce Callahan. So they had 3 guys that were good enough to be starters. Clearly, none of them have the upside of Patrick Surtain does, but cornerback wasn't really a need for them. So that was a pure best player available pick for them. Seth Williams from Auburn, the wide receiver, he's a height, weight, speed guy, maybe a red zone threat. He doesn't run great routes. It's more just, hey, I'm going to win some jump balls. But they took some guys later on that might carve out roles. Kerry Vincent could be a good special teams player. He's played safety. He's played corner. Gives you some versatility at LSU. Jonathan Cooper is more of a base end that can help in the run game. He's got a little bit of pass rush, not a ton. He's not going to win with speed. It's more of a power guy, but rotational piece that can come in on a couple series each half and play run defense. He can give you that. So overall, I like the players in the mix they took, but if the quarterback that they passed on turns out to be a player,
not going to matter.
You can punt all these guys. It won't matter.
Yeah, I mean, it's same thing. You don't think in Miami they're looking at Tua right now? I mean, like Tua, you can add all the talent you want. I mean, if he doesn't pan out, and Herbert still is Herbert is the next Dan Fouts, it's gonna look real bad. It's gonna look real bad. I was looking at you mentioned all these safeties they took. Simmons is signed to 2024.
Yeah, they gave him a 4-year deal.
Yeah, so like I'm not sure what that kind of perplexes me a little bit of why they would do that, but we'll see.
They did release Kareem Jackson, but I'm pretty sure they signed him back, so they still have Kareem Jackson
he is. I'm pretty positive he's there. I remember people were going nuts about the new no-fly zone. I was going to be like, okay.
So neither one of the safeties they took are going to get any sort of meaningful role outside of injuries as rookies. So they're looking at special teams guys, and neither one of them's played corner, so there's not versatility to slide them down. They're not going to come in and play the nickel. So these guys are straight free safeties. So they got 3 of them on their roster. We'll see.
We'll see what happens. They definitely have a lot of depth there. Let's see. Kareem Jackson. He's up there though. He's up there. He's up there. He's like 33 now. But he is signed 1 year deal, $4 million as far as that goes. Mini camps were the last thing we had. Like mini camps came through. I guess it's like I guess a lot of players. What do you like? There are the player association really. Do you feel like the older players are like, hey, I don't want to. Established players don't want to go, but then how else how do the young players kind of get into the fold if they don't go to these voluntary camps?
Yeah, we'll see coming up. I think May 24th is the week where like the press is allowed to get in, the reporters that are running the beats. So we'll figure out exactly how many guys are showing up to these, because right now I don't think the media is allowed in.
Mm-hmm.
There's been reports. I think the Raiders are one of the teams I saw where 70 players are working out at the facility, so it's a big number, and a couple of other places it is as well. But I think it's the veterans like the off season last year, that they didn't like working out. They know the offense, they know the defense. I think it's a hindrance to the young players. If I was a young player, I would absolutely be in the building. I want to
You
be
have
around
to
those coaches.
you have to go.
They have to know who you are.
Yeah.
You have to show that, learn the system. You can do as much as you want on Zoom calls, but being in the building with the coaching staff is the only way you're really going to do it. And then getting out on the field and getting reps. So it'll be interesting with the 3 preseason games instead of 4. And then we don't even know how many practices these guys are going to get and what's going to happen in the off season. So if I'm a young guy, I'm in there. If I'm a veteran and I have guaranteed money and I know I'm not going anywhere, I'm probably not showing up. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens.
And then with a couple of news bites here. Brian Hoyer, the veteran, he re-signs with the Patriots, so another quarterback in the fold there. Kelly Klein becomes one of the highest ranking women in the NFL. She is the Broncos executive director of football operations in Denver. So that's cool. The 49ers, you talked about veteran wide receiver. They just signed Marquise Lee. Fight on. To this.
See if they stay healthy. I know he played about 3 years.
I had to play 2 years. The Bengals signed Trent Taylor. And then, this whole like what I know that one guy anyway, like Tebow. So Tebow, real quick. Do you feel like this when we already here with Urban Meyer, where he was in a situation where like the strength and conditioning coach got they pretty much he signed him, and then everybody was like, yo, why do you sign this dude for? Like, but you're not gonna be able to sneak him under the radar. And he had to end up letting him go. Like this old boy network where you let everybody in, this kind of seems like it's kind of crazy because if Tebow was going to make this move, he should have did it when he was 25, not right now. I mean, he's just not deserving of this situation. Like I don't know how else to say it.
I agree with you, and I think he's 32 or 33 years old now. The baseball career wasn't panning out. He was very adamant he didn't want to play tight end earlier in his career, where he could have carved out some sort of role.
H-back role, kind of.
To me, this screams this is coming from above Urban Meyer. I think a little bit Shad Khan. They can't sell tickets in Jacksonville. Now you have Trevor Lawrence. Hey, let's throw Tim Tebow into it. See if we can sell even more tickets. Tebow's a legend. He's from Jacksonville. He played at Florida. So to me, this is more of a marketing pool as a player.
Oh my God.
So Tim Tebow comes in and he's the 3rd string tight end if he makes the roster. If I'm a player on the team, I'm not listening to a word the 3rd string tight end is telling me as far as leadership. So I think the players in the locker room are going to look right through that and be like, yeah, who cares? So I just don't see him making an impact at his age at a position he's never played, thinking that maybe he could be Tyson Hill-like or bring him in. Like, I don't see it. This is marketing.
If you take Trevor Lawrence off the field ever for Tim Tebow, you got to be out of your goddamn mind. And people, I just like I said, listen, it's a joke as a farce. And I think that team, Jacksonville, Florida if they can't sell tickets, you can't sell tickets for 8 games. Then what the hell do you do? Why is that? Like
it's the 7 games because they go over to London every year.
And it's like, to me, it's like, what is the point of like all the research you do before you put, a team somewhere? Like I mean, like, why would you put it in such a fishbowl like Jacksonville? They already have two teams. The Dolphins have a hard time selling out when they're good, much less Jacksonville.
Yeah, that team's going to end up in, let's be real, that team, unless something happens dramatically over the next 3 or 4 years, they're going to be playing a full slate of schedule over in London within the next 4 or 5 years, I think.
Speaking of that, real quick, what division could they possibly be in? Like, how do you do this? Like, what do you like play? Like, I don't. You play like 8 games on the road and 8 games in your building. Like, I don't understand how that's going to work.
They're going to have to do it in like 2-week intervals. So let's say if you put a full-time team in London, you're not going to have one game at home and then travel. So you're probably looking at 2 games at home in London, then maybe an East Coast game, and then get them in the States, and then maybe play, 2 or 3 games in the States, then go back, play 2 games, 3 games at home. So they're going to have a weird schedule once you have a team over there.
And
it's going to look like that.
I mean, free agency, like, damn. I mean, like, you could at least say, "Oh, come to Florida, no state taxes." What are you gonna exchange dollars for pounds?
Something.
Something.
It's going to happen. It's coming. I believe within the next 5 years, there's going to be a full-time.
Oh, it's going to be so gross. It's going to be so gross. It's going to be so gross. Just get me the Timberwolves back to Seattle so the Sonics can come back. As far as that, real quick, you have a crazy playing game, Lakers Warriors. Who do you got in this one? Who you got in that one?
I'm going to take Steph Curry. I think he's just going to get too hot and start to train at 3.
That's so gross.
Explain the playing game. I follow the NBA, but I don't understand. So if someone loses that game, are they out or are they still?
They're not out. They're not out because it's two playing games. But your route becomes like you have to win. Yeah. Your route becomes more difficult. But I think the Lakers have played so inconsistent when they're together. Like they haven't been together yet. So, they have like Drummond, they have some other pieces, Marcus Hall. So we'll see what happens. But I think they're fine. I think the Lakers find a way to make this a one and done. But don't call my phone if it's
Is LeBron healthy? Didn't he roll his ankle again?
He's a machine. He's not human. Also, I will say one thing. If you ever get a chance to watch that's my last thing. If you get a chance to watch, if you're fans of Key and Peele, Michael Keegan hosts Saturday Night Live. He did a skit on The Last Dance that is incredible, incredibly funny. If you like that stuff. Listen, thank you for listening to the show. I want to thank let me thank these 4 people because real quick before we go. Sherman Stewart, Armando DeVale, and Mark Outlaw. They are our new subscribers on YouTube. So we appreciate y'all watching and listening. Take care. Next time.